everyone, and welcome to the Kaz and Julie Show.
Some would say that.
My name is Kaz. I am a registered massage therapist and energy healer and owner of Key Health and Wellness in Whitby.
And I'm Julie. I'm a health and nutrition coach with my own company, Balanced Life with Julie.
Together, we are just two healers plugging along, chit-chatting about health and wellness things, and sharing our opinions from different viewpoints. And today we are going to talk about that whole business mindset versus kind of people like us who are more into the healer mindset. Mm-hmm. And so more or less what we're meaning by that is there has been noticeably, at least for me, a clear distinction between people that sometimes I network with and their way of thinking and mine. So I don't wake up in the morning and think, money, money, money. Who's going to make me money today? How am I going to get money today? Like, how am I going to get that 6-figure income? I wake up and think, oh, what am I going to do today that helps people, helps heal the community? And I notice that there aren't a lot of people like you and I, Julie. And it makes for a little bit of a challenging time when we're at networking events or any kind of, say, business type settings where it gets dominated by that whole market, sales, money,
numbers and sales. So one of the questions that I ask myself when I'm kind of laying in bed in the morning after the alarm goes and getting ready to go meditate is I always ask myself, like, who can I help today? Who can I help? And that's a very different way of thinking. And it's not that, you know, we don't want to make money. We have bills to pay. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be living on this side of the street. But at the same time, I don't overly obsess about the numbers. So it's like what we do is more purpose driven versus like we just need to make a living. Like if I just needed to make a living, I could be doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it's a calling versus a job.
And money is just not a motivator for me. It's a necessity. I know you can't really live life without money because you do have bills to pay and things to do. I have children, a family. We need to eat.
I have 3 dogs and a cat. They
exactly.
want food.
So money is good, but money flows. I've learned that. I believe wholeheartedly in it. Money comes, it goes. It's not mine to hold on to. The more I think about the money I need, the less I seem to have. So instead, I just let that part of life kind of not take care of itself, but I'm less mindful of money because it flows. Whereas my whole passion is to see people pain-free. Mm-hmm. And that's what drives me. That's where I'm like, yeah, how many people can I heal today instead of how many people can I take money from today?
Yeah. And I think like I'm the same way. Like I get super excited when I work with a client or I'm doing a group program and people start to feel better and they see results. Like that stuff gets me way more excited than whatever they paid me for the program or the coaching. Like that lasts for a split second. And I've always been like that. I think we were talking about that before. Like when I was a kid, I never really got that motivated by stuff or cash. And I've also had the experience of like having a regular job with benefits and what do they call that? A pension plan? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had one of those once and I've been so wonderfully blessed ever since I left that job, that steady paycheck. Like I've always managed to find work. I chase the work that I find interesting. Mm-hmm. That's what lights me up is that I have to be interested in it. I have to feel like it's helping in some way, shape, or form, like helping the human condition versus like it's not all about me. It's about helping others. And so, you know, my only interest really is like from a business standpoint of like if I'm working on growing my business, I only grow it because I support a whole bunch of different charities. And every time I see more people need help, like I want to be able to help as many people as possible. Like my clients definitely in terms of their own healing, but then taking some of that money and putting it to use, whether it's like the charities that I support tend to be environmental, children, and animal rights. Like that's my jam.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with the mindset that we're referring to here is like the business mindset. If people wake up and they're like, money, numbers, make that sale, that's great. That's their passion. I think when I hear someone come into my wellness center and they've been in pain and they've struggled with pain for a long time, and then I have a session with them and they leave feeling really good about themselves, the pain has decreased, in some cases it's gone away. That to me is that big sale. That to me is that, like, I closed that deal. Like, I know that they're so much better off now. And that is worth more to me than money.
Well, I mean, I think the thing also is that people and their focus on money also has to do with the fact that they've been told that that's what's really important versus like their health or being connected to their own emotions or their relationships. Like there's people that I've known over the years that are so focused on working and making lots of money that they don't seem to be that connected to their own humanity. And as a result, they're not necessarily that happy. And there are studies that show that over a certain amount of money made yearly doesn't make you, like somebody who makes, you know, a couple $1 million a year isn't like, you know, 10x happier than someone who makes like 75,000. I think 75,000 is the magic number, that anyone who makes over and above that isn't necessarily, you know, way happier. It gives you more ability and options to do things with your time, for sure, with interests that you may have, but it may not necessarily mean that you're way happier. And if anything, like sometimes people are more unhappy.
I know for me, and probably you'll agree to this too, it makes it a little challenging being in that mindset when you're out in, say, a networking situation, or you go to a seminar and, you know, you're being taught on sales and those cold calls, and you have to do this, and it loses me. I'm not interested at this point. I've disconnected now. And so it's always a challenge, I find, to find that group of people that are going to inspire and have the same sort of thought pattern as me. So it doesn't get so salesy and cold, really, because there is that lack of how is this helping? It's just all, how can we make more, money.
More for the sake of more. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Like, get me into a sales meeting and start talking numbers is a great way to put me to sleep, really.
And I do agree in a way that we're being pumped full all the time on social media of, you know, bigger, better, more. The more money you have, the more cars you can have. The more cars you have, the more friends you have. And it's that whole validation and like. And
I guess the question is, what kind of friends? Because there's the people who are attracted to you just because of the stuff you have aren't necessarily the type of like quality people that you necessarily want to be hanging out with.
But I don't know that people are overly worried about the type of friends they have anymore. This is how many friends I have. Look at them all. Look at how many friends follow me on social media. That becomes a huge thing. And so I don't know that it really quality doesn't seem to matter. Quantity is more of the game, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, what's the saying? Different strokes for different folks. But I mean, back on the whole networking thing, like I definitely feel like I do better in a room of people who are more on a mission. They have purpose-driven, they have businesses, but they're purpose-driven businesses. And it makes it way easier for me to connect and have a conversation with those types of people versus people who are like, yeah, you know, I had this many sales last year and now I've 10x'd my sales. I'm like, and? So then my question is like, okay, if you've 10x your sales, like, are you doing more for your community? Are you doing more for the world? Or is it just you just buying stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to live in LA. It's a very different mentality of the car you drive, the house you live in, the neighborhood you live in, the stuff you have, the places you vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that stuff kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. And again, all good for other people, just different for us. That's all.
Because we're on a mission-driven, purpose-driven kind of trajectory with what we do versus it's not all about the money.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we should ask some of our listeners how they go about with these challenges, if they meet it, even maybe in their role themselves. Like, I've always been a healer. I know this now, but when I worked in the corporate world, I had to deal with people every day that was about numbers and sales and show me how much money you're making today. And it was a very trying time. It was draining for me. So I'm just curious if there must be people out there who have kind of the healer mentality, but yet they're in that corporate environment and what they do to kind of survive or just
yeah. I mean, I think like probably the reason that people get depressed or maybe turn to drugs or alcohol has to do with the fact that maybe they're not feeling fulfilled in other ways in their life, especially if they're working at a job that they don't necessarily enjoy. So I can see how that could be one of the reasons that we have some of the depression and alcohol stats that we have, which are very high. That's for another call.
Yes. Well, a form of escape. I think we can sometimes deny our gift or our passion, who we are, because we're stuck in that way of gotta make money, that retirement fund.
That's also like, that's programming. That's how we're kind of conditioned through the school system and through society in general. Like you have a little baby and you tell that baby how it's got to be as it's growing up. You have to tell that individual how they should live their life to be happy. But different things make different people happy. Like I know people who are very happy living a certain way. And then I know people who living under those same circumstances, it's very confining for them. So it's just allowing people the freedom to make their own choices and making it okay versus like making them feel bad that they don't want to go be an accountant or a lawyer or a like in my case, it would have been doctor or lawyer. Ha!
Right.
Boy, did that not work out. I wanted to play a lawyer on TV and I did get to do that once.
Well, then you fulfilled it in some way.
I know. Now I just have to play a doctor on TV at some point, you know?
If there's anyone out there looking for a beautiful South Asian woman to play a doctor, this is the podcast you need to contact.
I'm available. Call my agent. All right. So like continuing on this whole business mind versus healer mind. So I know for myself, one of the things that I figured out was who are the people that I want to help. Like, I guess in business talk, it would be your ideal client. And so I have a very clear image of who that person is. And so when I'm creating programs, that's who I'm focused on. For example, Bye Bye Sugar. That's focused on a very particular individual. And obviously it works because I have clients. But I don't necessarily focus on like, oh, I need to have X number of sales this month and push. And like, oh my God, it's the 25th of the month and I didn't drive enough sales. And then I'm like, you know, out there hustling. Like I just don't work it that way. And then the other part of it is I let myself daydream a little bit, or sometimes ideas will come to me in meditation like, oh, you got to work on this for a program. And that's kind of how I create things.
For me, so when I first became a registered massage therapist, I worked at a multidisciplinary clinic. So chiro, physio, massage. And it was great, but it's a very different business model to what I resonated with. And it showed up very quickly. And the whole business model is get as many people in as you can, get them booked in for another session right away, get them spending their extended healthcare benefits. And to me, it lost the sole purpose of why I became a registered massage therapist, which was to really help heal people. So when I decided to open up on my own, I honestly just did it. Basically, I looked for a place and boom, away I went. And then I started to seek assistance. I went to the BACD here in Whitby, who were phenomenal. And I actually joined a little workshop and sort of business seminar that they had. And one of the things they made you do was a business plan, which really was not fun for me because I don't like to crunch numbers. I don't like to look at things like competition. I'd rather bury my head in the sand in that regard, or just be like, but I just want to heal people. Why do I need to know all this information? And it was helpful, but it did not do very nice things for me. Like, it didn't feel warm and fuzzy at all. So once I got through that little point, I was able to actually sit down and say, okay, who are my clients? Like, who do I really want to see in this wellness center? If I could envision it full, what do the people look like? And it's quite diverse for me. But ultimately, they all have one goal, which is to feel better and to live better, however that looks. So that really became my mission. Of course, I know in terms of every month how many people I need to see in order to pay my bills. But I find by putting less stress on, okay, I got to make these numbers, I got to find people, and just offering advice to people, talking to people when I'm out. If I'm at the grocery store and someone's rubbing their neck, like suggesting some stretches or something along those lines, that starts spreading the word more than if I'm just out there like yelling at people to come get a massage or trying to extra book my clients in for services they don't need just to make the additional money. Yeah.
I think we're kind of similar in that respect. Because I put out Wellness Wednesday videos all the time on Facebook, and I do put stuff out on Instagram, and just like I will, like sometimes people will direct message me on Instagram. They have something going on, and if I can offer them a few words that I think might help, then I do. And that's kind of how I am. I'm not like, oh, well, you have to book a session.
Exactly. Like, I think we both know our value in the sense that, well, I'm not just going to keep giving away free massages to see that everyone gets healthy and, doesn't have backache. But I don't mind sharing knowledge. And if I can, like, how many times have we been at, say, a networking event in the morning, and then someone has said, oh my gosh, my back really hurts. Are you working right now? And I typically am not working, but I will be like, you know what, let's go to the studio and work. So not being so structured maybe is something that is beneficial to me.
Don't mind the scratching. That's one of my dogs doing his thing, her thing. So yeah, I think like I don't have a business plan, but I think it's we still have an idea of who we want to help, and we just have a different way of getting there. We're like dialed into the universal energy field. We're plugged in.
Like, it was uncomfortable to do the business plan, and I don't think I've ever looked at my business plan and be like, oh, I'm so glad I have this. There were things of it that helped. And of course, you do need to know what you need to make a month to cover your bills and things, and what's going to kind of put you over the edge. But it's certainly not something that drives me. And it's not at all something that I really focus on. Well, to wrap things up, I think really we just wanted to highlight the fact that there is this different mindset out there, and sometimes it's challenging to be in a seemingly sort of corporate or money-driven world when that's just not your motivation. And it's a little challenging, but just being true to yourself and finding other ways and other tribes, other people who resonate with you and can still share the same sort of information you're seeking, but just not in that pressure sales environment way.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for us.
Thanks for joining.
Follow on the social, on the Insta.
Yes, for me it's at Key Health and Wellness with B.
And for me, it's at Julie Brar on Instagram.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This show has been produced by podcastexpert.ca.